On September 1, 1939, the world changed forever as German tanks and planes stormed into Poland. The invasion marked the beginning of World War II, a conflict that would engulf nearly every nation and touch every life. News of the attack spread rapidly, and in cities across Europe people braced for the worst. This was not just a war of soldiers, but of entire nations, fought for freedom against tyranny. The impact of that first invasion rippled outward, drawing country after country into the fray. Alliances formed, the Axis, Germany, Italy, Japan, against the Allies, Britain, the Soviet Union, and later, the United States. Understanding how this war began, raged, and ended is essential to honoring those who lived and died through it. To understand World War II, we must look back to 1919 and the Treaty of Versailles. The treaty punished Germany harshly, fueling resentment and economic hardship. The Great Depression deepened the crisis, leaving millions jobless and desperate. In this climate, extremist leaders like Mussolini in Italy and Hitler in Germany rose to power, promising national revival and scapegoating minorities. Meanwhile, Japan, seeking resources and power, invaded Manchuria in 1931, revealing the weakness of international peace efforts. The League of Nations failed to stop aggression, sending a clear message: powerful nations could act without consequence. Economic collapse, political extremism, and unchecked aggression set the stage for global conflict. The world was a powder keg, waiting for a spark. That spark would soon ignite. Hitler's rise in Germany was swift and ruthless. He dismantled democracy, built a totalitarian state, and began rearming in defiance of the Treaty of Versailles. Mussolini in Italy and Stalin in the Soviet Union also ruled through fear and force, each pursuing their own ambitions. Hitler's bold moves, remilitarizing the Rhineland, annexing Austria, and demanding the Sudetenland, were met with appeasement by Britain and France. The Munich Agreement gave Hitler what he wanted, only emboldening him further. Meanwhile, Mussolini invaded Ethiopia and the world again failed to act. These unchecked aggressions convinced the dictators that the democracies would not stand in their way. The world order was crumbling and the stage was set for war. Diplomacy had failed, force would decide the future. The countdown to catastrophe had begun. Appeasement collapsed when Hitler invaded Czechoslovakia, then set his sights on Poland. Britain and France vowed to defend Poland, but Hitler secured a non-aggression pact with Stalin, secretly agreeing to divide Poland. On September 1, 1939, Germany invaded Poland with blitzkrieg tactics, swift, overwhelming attacks that crushed resistance. Britain and France declared war, but Poland fell within weeks. Hitler's armies swept through Western Europe, conquering Denmark, Norway, the Low Countries, and France in rapid succession. The miraculous Dunkirk evacuation saved Allied troops, but Paris soon fell. While Europe burned, the US remained neutral, though President Roosevelt aided Britain. In Asia, Japan's quest for empire led to conflict with the US over resources. On December 7, 1941, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, devastating the US Pacific Fleet. The next day, the US declared war on Japan. Soon after, Germany and Italy declared war on the US. The world's conflicts merged into a single, global war. The stakes had never been higher. The fight for survival had truly begun. The Axis powers seemed unstoppable, but the tide began to turn. In 1942, the Battle of Stalingrad became a brutal turning point. Soviet forces surrounded and defeated the German army, marking Hitler's first major defeat. In the Pacific, the US Navy's victory at Midway crippled Japan's carrier fleet and shifted momentum. With the Soviets pushing west and the US advancing in the Pacific, the Allies prepared to liberate Western Europe. On June 6, 1944, D-Day, Allied forces stormed Normandy, breaking through German defenses. The landings marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. The Allies advanced from the west, the Soviets from the east. Germany was trapped. In the Pacific, island-hopping campaigns brought US forces closer to Japan. Each battle was costly, but the Axis grip was weakening. The world watched as the balance of power shifted. The end of the war was in sight, but the cost would be immense. The fate of millions hung in the balance. The final battles loomed. World War II was fought not just on battlefields, but in factories, homes, and hearts. Rationing, victory gardens, and total mobilization defined daily life in Allied nations. Women filled critical roles in industry, symbolized by Rosie the Riveter. Children collected scrap and bought war bonds. Everyone contributed. Propaganda united people but also fueled suspicion and prejudice. Most tragically, the internment of Japanese Americans. Air raids and constant anxiety became routine, especially in Europe. The war forged resilience in community but also brought profound loss. Every family felt its impact. Amid the chaos, the Nazis orchestrated the Holocaust, the systematic murder of 6 million Jews and millions of others. Persecution began with discriminatory laws and escalated to violence, ghettos, and finally, extermination camps. In places like Auschwitz, the Nazis carried out industrial-scale genocide. Most victims were killed upon arrival. Others faced forced labor, starvation, and brutality. The Holocaust stands as a stark warning of the consequences of hatred and indifference. Remembering these horrors is a solemn duty we must never forget. The world must remain vigilant against such evil. By 1945, the Allies closed in on Germany from both east and west. The Battle of the Bulge was Hitler's last gamble, but the Allies held firm. As they advanced, Allied troops liberated concentration camps, revealing the full horror of Nazi crimes. In April, Soviet forces reached Berlin. Hitler, facing defeat, took his own life. On May 8th, Germany surrendered. Victory in Europe Day. In the Pacific, fierce battles on Iwo Jima and Okinawa signaled the cost of invading Japan. To avoid further bloodshed, President Truman authorized the use of atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. The devastation was unprecedented. Japan surrendered on August 15th. Victory over Japan Day. World War II was finally over. The world celebrated, but the scars would last for generations. The cost was staggering, but peace had returned. A new era was about to begin. When the war ended, the world was forever changed. Tens of millions were dead, cities lay in ruins, and old empires crumbled. Two superpowers emerged, the United States and the Soviet Union, setting the stage for the Cold War. The United Nations was founded to promote peace and human rights. The horrors of the Holocaust led to a global commitment to dignity and justice. Borders shifted, new nations were born, and the world order was reshaped. The lessons of World War II remain urgent. The dangers of hatred, the value of freedom, and the need for vigilance. Remembering this history is our responsibility, to honor the past and protect the future.